I'm going to.
I can hear you better. Okay, I'm Carol Gray. I'm a LMT board member in Portland.
Thank you. I'm Bob Ruark. I'm the executive director for the board.
Jeff Van Lennon, I'm the licensure and compliance manager for the board.
Mitch Breedlove, compliance specialist for the board.
Haruna, policy analyst for the board.
Trina Jennings, I'm a contract investigator for the board.
Sarah Steele, contract investigator for the board.
Mark Greif, contract investigator.
Is that it, Bob?
Lisa, can you introduce yourself?
Lisa Hamilton, massage therapist.
Welcome, Lisa.
And Mara?
Yeah. I'm Mara McGee. I'm the manager of member services for the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards.
Welcome, Mara.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, moving on to today's agenda. Are there any changes or corrections to be made at this time to today's agenda? Nope. Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Good. So approved. The agenda is approved. Okay. Moving on to approving the minutes. Is there any discussion regarding the minutes from January 26th meeting?
I don't think we voted to approve the minutes. There was a motion and it was seconded. I didn't hear a vote.
Got to do all in favor.
Apparently Maria skipped the line. So today's agenda, Doug approved, English moved, Doug approved, moved, seconded by English. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It is approved. Any discussion regarding the meeting's minutes from January 26th, 2026 board meeting? All right, hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any opposed? Thank you. The minutes are approved. Moving on to board business, it's now Director Ruark's floor.
Excellent. Thank you. Greetings, board members. Happy Monday. I'm gonna, so my director's report is in the board packet, but as usual, I always read it for the record. And so I'm just gonna read it to you all. If you have any questions, please let me know. So our budget financial situation, so 7 months into the 25-27 biennium, the board's budget is approximately 109% funded, which is unusual for us. Usually we're 80%, 90%. So we're actually clawing back to get where we need to be. Our income as of February 28th, 2026 is $1,082,924 and expenses of approximately $729,435. So I need to note these expenditures do not include the payroll payment for January and February. We oftentimes get those a month late or sometimes a couple months late. I estimated those. I just received January's payroll payment. I'm awaiting the billing of February, but adding those estimated payments increases total expenditures to approximately $886,435 through February 28th, 2026, which is about $47,886 under our budget projections. So we're approximately $50,000 under our budget projections, which is good. As of March 18th, 2026, our bank balance was $488,020, which is equal to approximately 4 months of working capital. Previous to that, however, keep in mind that this balance does not reflect January and February payroll payments. After those estimated payments are deducted, the bank balance will be about $331,000, which is approximately 3 months of working capital. We were down to about a month and a half of working capital, so we're getting that reserves back up to where they need to be. They should be at the minimum 4 months of working capital. We try to have a target of about 6 months of working capital. So if something like COVID happens, we're able to weather that. So if you look at the attached profit loss statement, the column on the left shows our income and expenditures per line item from July 1, 2025 to February 28, 2025. The second column is our total budget for the same time in the biennium. As you can see, we're meeting and exceeding our budget projections and are underspending on our expense projections as of this point, which is where we want to be, right? So a little bit of bad news. On March 3rd, 2026, while I was reconciling the checkbook for the month of February, I noticed a couple of transactions in our bank account that did not match our expenditures. I immediately called the bank and found that our bank account had been compromised and 5 fraudulent checks had been presented for payment totaling $33,100. I don't know how they got a hold of our bank account. My assumption is because we didn't have any cyber incident where somebody could have hacked in and got our bank account that way. We do write checks and we mail them out. My assumption is that it could have been somebody leaving a check on their desk at a company that we sent a check to and somebody coming by and copying down the number. These checks were not our check stock. All of our check stock was accounted for. And all of our protocols were in place and there were no IT breaches. So my only assumption is that there was a check stolen or obtained somehow. The check stock that they used were checks that were written, printed, and then signed by Oprah Winfrey. And they were presented to the bank from anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. And they gave them the cash, which I thought was interesting. I didn't know Oprah Winfrey was the executive director of the massage board in Oregon, but so the bank took immediate action. They froze our account, implemented fraud protocols, which are pretty extensive. What I did find out is about 9 years ago, the bank wanted us to change our account. It's more expensive, but they wanted us to change our account to add a bunch of protocols to it. I was not the executive director at the time. The executive director at that time declined to go for that, probably because of the expense. It's a fair amount. And in talking to the bank, these protocols that we're instituting now are in line with what other state agencies are doing, that bank with US Bank. So we instituted that, got it all approved. Right now we're waiting for that account. I think it is implemented maybe today. So there's a lot of work to be done to get all those accounts transferred, get new check stock, and getting all that done. So I reported it to the Oregon State Police. They gave me a case number. They sent it up to their major crimes division, and we're waiting to hear back from them. We had quite a bit of information about who cashed the checks, which I assumed they were frauded also. Kind of sounds like they were. You know, one of those, you cash this check, give me this much money, and you keep that much for the car I bought from you or something like that. So it kind of sounds like maybe that was the issue. This is fairly common. It's not common in our situation, but it's fairly common in the world. So we ultimately closed the account, opened a new account with additional safety protocols to ensure this type of thing doesn't happen again. It appears all the checks are presented on the East Coast. Virginia, that area. They were not stolen, like I said, check stock from our office, but printed checks using our account number. It's unclear how they were obtained, possibly a stolen check from a mailbox or the United States Postal Service. I also immediately reported this to the incident to the Oregon State Police. They're investigating, signed the detective division. As of now, we have limited losses, and according to the bank, because they're FDI insured, those losses will be refunded. So once those are refunded, like I said, it's $33,100. Thankfully, we reconcile every month, and thankfully I caught it. Because after they put the protocols in, 3 more checks were attempted, and we were able to stop them. So we limited it to 5 checks. So we got the safety protocols in place. They're going to refund our money to us. As soon as they refund the money, I'm going to have the state of Oregon do an audit and kind of get the account, back to, we just had an audit, thank goodness. but I'm gonna have them do another one, not a processing audit, but just a financial audit. Just the money to make sure everything's there and everything matches and everything's good. I don't see any other fraudulent checks or anything like that, so. Any questions about that at all? It's definitely a tumultuous time for me, and I did not care for that very much, but we got through it, so.
But you caught it.
Got it, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
I'll go on to my next one here, so.
I have a question.
Okay,
Yeah, you mentioned that a prior executive director elected to not institute these various anti-fraud protocols due to the expense. Do we know yet what the expense will be, aside from the fraudulently presented checks? What additional banking expenses are we going to have as a result of the new protocols?
Yeah, I just got a quote on Friday, and I haven't compared it to what we pay right now. It will be probably about a 30% increase in our fees, which is we pay a lot to the bank, but those protocols are real important. Right now, we have one account that we operate out of. This will give us two accounts. There'll be a payable account, and then our account where all of our money goes into, a receivable account. And when I write the checks, it'll only transfer what I write from the receivables account into the payables account. So there'll be no money for them, extra money for anybody to take. So yeah, it'll be it looks like about 33% increase.
That sounds like a nice safeguard. I like the idea of just only funding that payable account when we have outstanding checks or payments. So yeah, okay.
Thanks, Carol. Any other questions? So FSMTB is my next section. So the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards will be holding their executive summit in April. It's in Rhode Island this year. Myself and Mr. Van Lannen attend those. Just a reminder, all of our expenses for those are paid for by FSMTB. They always pay for the executive director, but they're paying for Jeff this year because he's a panel member. We're both going to be presenting at that meeting. And so all the expenses will be paid for that. So it won't cost anything, just a little time for us to be there for a couple of days. So.
And I wish you guys luck getting through.
Yeah.
Thank you, Director Ruark. Now on to the compliance and licensure report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just noticed that the one that's posted on the agenda is not the latest one, but there's not much missing from it, so I'll just read it into the record. So licensure volume continues to slowly trend upwards, and we have an updated version of the customer portal for our elite database is ready to launch. That information came in just last week, and we had a demo of the new potential benefits of the updated elite program, and it looks very encouraging. As that progresses, we'll keep you updated. But I think it's going to be great, don't you think, Director?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be. It should solve a lot of problems that we've experienced, like the LMT dash, when people have trouble just logging in. A lot of that seems to have been accounted for and hopefully simplified as well, as it allows both the user to some more flexibility while hopefully taking some of the burden away from staff so we can apply our time to other things and get things done quicker. Compliance has been really moving forward. Our new investigators have been quite busy, as you can tell by our executive session agenda. In fact, I think we probably caught up on the slight backlog that we experienced when our investigators, Ken and Nathan, left our team. I think I mentioned this when we brought our new investigators on, that we generally start them with small contracts to see how things are going. With both our new investigators, we've already upped their contracts to the normal amounts because they're up and moving and doing a great job. We also have a third investigator, Michael, who was selected during our investigator recruitment. He had an unavoidable delay But he is now ready to come in and start working, and Mitch and I are working on some dates when we can get him trained. We're in the final stages now of designing the board's public health placard. The draft placard designs are going to go out to the state graphic design and printing agency and possibly some other local businesses to compare designs and cost estimates. Mitch has developed a carbonless form to help us track the placements of those placards properly and be able to provide the business, the landlords, law enforcement with copies of that form explaining the placard process and its purpose. And another recent development is the Department of Justice in Oregon has assigned a couple of agents and analysts to the IMB problem. We have met with two of them on multiple occasions to explain how the board works, how we're addressing these issues, and what information that we acquire during the course of our investigations and what we can share. We're hopeful that these DOJ agents and analysts will have the support of the state and prosecutors, et cetera, to be able to look at these illegal operations from a different perspective and maybe help us in shutting these down in the future.
That's a huge deal.
Well, it could be. But I'm tentatively excited about it. Any questions about licensure or compliance over the last one? Oh, yeah, sure, I'll put that in. That just happened on Friday. But
Yeah.
I know Director Ruark has said this many times, is that like an FSMTP, Oregon, as a state in the massage regulations industry, is one of the nation's leaders. We're absolutely looked upon. Bob was talking about how we're both speaking at the summit, and they often use Oregon as examples of how we're doing things differently and getting great results, and want us to share that with the other states. And just recently, I got a call from Canada, and Canada wants to model Oregon's system as well. So, well, one province.
Yeah,
In Canada, Alberta. And they have some interesting ways that they do and don't regulate massage therapies. They have a lot of work to do, but I thought it was pretty cool that they reached out to Oregon to get the information to start working on their own programs. So
That's awesome.
we're going international.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Any questions? Excellent. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Jeff. Everyone get a chance to review and read the civil penalties update, and so we'll.
Yeah, I can give you a little rundown on that.
Perfect.
So, in 2025 session, Senate Bill 3819, we discussed that at the board meeting, previous board meetings. Representative Tran, Senator Taylor, Senator Manning, were all sponsors of this bill. It took effect January 1st, 2026. And part of that bill was increasing our civil penalty, maximum civil penalty from $1,000 per offense to $5,000 per offense. And the board had previously voted, in the previous practice was to assess the maximum civil penalty per violation. Now that it's increased to $5,000, in discussion with the board and some of the discussions we've had, the idea is not to use that for all offenses. So I came up with this white paper that kind of explains the graduated civil penalty framework. And it basically says that it gives the board the background, it gives the problem, and talks about the range of penalties. I came up with a little penalty schedule that, so to kind of guide the board, if the board likes it, you can change it if you'd like. That talks about how you would assess this penalty to be fair, and not be, overly punitive. So the tiered penalty schedule, it's a guide designed to assist the board in making consistent, objective decisions regarding civil penalty sanctions. It doesn't prevent you from making sanction decisions that depart from the schedule when there's mitigating or extenuating circumstances. The board is required by law to consider those factors that you all consider when you make those decisions. But this is just a guide for the board, if you like it. And it talks about, the first violation still being the $1,000 civil penalty. But it also talks about second violations and third or subsequent violations. For minor violations, my recommendation is to continue with the, a second violation of $1,000. Those minor violations will be, record keeping issues, no license and advertising, things like that, because those are just, absent-minded offenses that we don't want to, go right up to $5,000 for an LMT or LMT that forgot to put their license number in because they switched their advertising or something like that. The significant violations, and we're talking unlicensed practice, boundary issues, things that are significant. And the idea behind this is to combat human trafficking, right? We're trying to stop these unlicensed facilities from just, paying their $1,000 penalty and moving on as a cost of doing business. We're trying to have a better deterrent. And in this instance, what my recommendation is that there's significant violations like unlicensed practice or unlicensed facility, that the first violation is still $1,000, a second violation, $2,000, and then third or subsequent violations, these repeat offenders, my recommendation is to go to the max of $5,000. And I explained everything in here why I think that works. Do you have any questions about that? Is that something the board's interested in, doing it this way, or is there some suggestions about doing it differently? This is just my suggestion. And if this is what you'd like to do, I'd like you to vote on it and say we're going to adopt this, and we'll do a policy or something of that nature.
Are we still doing the cooperation decrease under this? So
Yeah. So if we have a first offense of somebody that, it's not a repeat offender, first offense, there's no sexual element to it, then we often give them a 50% reduction. We always do, pretty much.
If they ask for it.
Yeah. And so we'll often give that reduction. We'll definitely work with them. The idea behind this is these repeat offenders. We're trying to get rid of these facilities that are coming in. They're not hiring licensed massage therapists. They're a danger to the public and the profession itself. And this allows the board to be consistent and not have someone say you're being extra mean to me. You'll have a guideline and say, well, this is our guideline. We're using this for everybody across the board.
It seems like they're making so much money, they don't mind forking out the fees.
Not at all.
And the idea behind this is make it hurt.
Yeah, I attended a training, several training sessions, and some of the successful places that have combated human trafficking or the unlicensed facilities. Not all unlicensed facilities are human trafficking. Some are just labor trafficking. Some are just money makers, right? They just want to make money. And, they said hit them in the pocketbook because they make a lot of money. I mean, sometimes they'll make $100,000 a month, at these facilities. So, we're trying different angles to do what we can to keep them out of Oregon. That's our job.
And in response to your question, for those that haven't been here that long, we have had people that we have found that have told us, I'll just pay fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier. I mean, and that's after 10, 20, 20,000, 30.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
we get
been quite
big.
significant.
Just write a check or they give us their credit card, they bring in cash. We've had people bring in thousands of dollars in cash and just hand it to us and say it, because then we go away, right? The case is done. And it's the price of doing business for them. And we want to make it so it hurts them.
That was the only clarification I wanted. How does everyone else feel? Any comments?
I think it's reasonable. It's like the civil version of sentencing guidelines. I think it makes sense to have a framework in place. So, yeah, I'm in favor of it.
English?
Yeah, me so.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the tiered penalty schedule under this new rule that started 1/1/26?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Motion passes.
Any opposed?
Any opposed? Motion passes. And Director Ruark, do we have to wait until this is policy to actually start this? Or can we start this
In fact,
today?
it's already in the law.
Nice.
So my intention for this and for the, there's also going to be some information regarding placards.
Okay.
I think you can start them now because they're already law.
Nice.
And the placard law is, or the rule for the placard is in committee right now. But if you can still, issue these penalties and things like that. And once it comes out of there, then we can start doing the placard thing. But I want to get it going since you only meet every couple of months.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the placard in a little bit, but I just wanted to, yeah.
And this would be a good meeting to,
Yeah.
to start this and see
It
how
would,
this
yes.
works.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Director Rourke. Rules Committee
Yes.
update. This is yours.
Yeah, I'll give a little bit, and then if Carol wants to step in also, Carol's the liaison. So the Rules Committee has been given, several tasks. They're attacking them, with a priority, starting with the placard, starting with the laws, basically, that were changed, to write some rules regarding that. So the Rules Advisory Committee, I think, has met twice, maybe 3 times. I know they had an introductory meeting, and then they had a couple of working meetings. Unfortunately, the last meeting didn't have a quorum, so they couldn't vote and move stuff forward to this board meeting. So the timing was a little off for me. I anticipated the things that are on this agenda, it would come here and then we could get all that ball rolling. But it's a little behind now because they didn't have a quorum. So they're just working on writing some rules regarding the issuing of the placard. It's already in our law, so you guys can vote to issue the placard. The procedures in the rule is what's being written right now. There's no time frame for us to issue those placards, so if you get it now, by the time we get through the process, then we'll already have some cases available to issue those placards, not have to wait 4 or 5 months to get those going. So that's why I'm gonna suggest that you vote to issue a placard in some of these cases today.
While you're talking, would you like to take that vote now and then you can continue with that?
For
The placard.
Well, I don't think you need to vote because it's already in law.
Okay.
So I think it's already written in law, so you can just, they've hopefully picked out some cases that they can say, recommend that you can issue a placard in this particular case.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the Rules Advisory Committee, they've met, they're doing great work, and it's a good cohesive committee, and I think they're doing a great job. So I don't know if Carol has anything to add.
Sure. Yeah, there were 2 meetings so far. The first meeting was an introductory meeting, and the second meeting is the one where there was not a quorum, although the committee had a discussion. The 2 top priority items for this committee at the moment are coming up with language, the actual rules around the mandatory reporter training, and whether we accept that as continuing ed credit, et cetera, et cetera. And the other discussions have revolved around the actual language that will be part of the placard itself. So that's all we got so far.
Thanks, Carol.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
I guess I can ask it.
Absolutely.
So the placards, when it's like the landlord's building, I mean, does it ruin their buildings and do the landlords have to give what happens? Tell me a little bit more.
Yeah,
Good
absolutely.
question.
That whole thing.
Good question.
So, you ever driven down the road and see the state police put a big sticker on someone's car for towing? So that's kind of the vision we have, there'll be stickers, they can be taken off with a razor blade, it's not like we're
It's
gonna.
not like you're drilling into their building.
No, we're just gonna put a sticker on their door. And the committee's talked about, in the rules, about putting it on, if there's a back door and a front door, putting on both doors, so, anybody. And the placard is just a sticker that's going to be put on the door. And it's just a warning to the public that says there's nobody here that's licensed, and then hopefully a deterrent from the business to continue operating. Hopefully a informational thing to the landlord saying, there's nobody licensed there, what am I renting to them for? And so it's not intrusive. We anticipate probably putting it on glass instead of, on their building where it could rip off paint or something like that. It's not going to be used in a manner for the LMT that forgot to renew their license. That's very specific, that the idea behind this are these organized, unlicensed facilities that just are thumbing their nose at the law and are saying, we're not gonna abide by your rules. And which, is a public safety issue. And it's also really a diss to your profession. Just saying, you know what, I'm just gonna do what I wanna do. I'm not gonna follow the rules. And so that's the idea behind the placard. And I don't think it's gonna be very intrusive. And also, before we put the placard on, they're going to have the opportunity to have a hearing. So we're not going to walk in there and say, unlicensed, slam the placard on their door. We're gonna issue them a notice. The board will vote to, as part of, the civil penalty, to issue a placard. What happens is they get a notice and, they can have a request for a hearing. At the end of that time frame, a final order will be issued. And then at the end of that time frame, then, we'll put the placard on. So they have plenty of time to have a hearing. They can challenge it. So we're not disciplining them before they have the opportunity to have their day.
Well, then what happens if they're like somewhere far away and they're like, oh, I'm not around any of these guys, and they just like cover it up with a
It's a violation.
sign or something?
Yeah, no, it's a violation. So they remove the placard, they cover the placard, then it's a violation. It's $100 a day. Or there's nothing in there that doesn't keep the board from, issuing additional civil penalties for them messing with the placard. But it says in the law, it's $100 per day. But you can also issue other civil penalties for other things. So yeah, what keeps them from doing it, we don't know yet. I mean, we haven't done it yet. So it's going to be a learning curve. We're gonna find out. We're pretty much the first in the nation that are doing it the way that we're doing it. We've heard about some other places that, or at least one other state.
West Virginia.
Yeah, that might be doing placards. We haven't got any information about that. There's nothing in their law that says that, so I don't know how they're doing it. But we're cutting edge that way, so we're gonna see how it works out. It's gonna be trial and error. So.
And then when they adhere to all the laws, they get it off.
Absolutely, yep.
So for clarity, this is just essentially for those that are on that tiered penalty schedule,
Yeah.
You can do it to anybody, but it has to be,
but for the most
the
part.
law specifically says when you can do it. So it says upon a determination by the board that a massage facility is in violation of ORS 687.021 and employs or contracts with persons to practice massage who are not licensed under ORS such and such, in addition to any other disciplinary action. So if you don't have those two things, you can't placard.
Thank you for the clarification. That's good. This will be interesting.
Yeah.
Are you? I'll do it off the record.
Okay. Any other rules advisory committee update?
No.
Okay, so let's move on to policy review, and
Yeah.
floor still yours, Bob.
So we have, as part of the strategic plan, we wanted to do a full process review, which included reviewing all of our policies. And you guys have reviewed every single policy that we have. You guys canceled many of them. We have a small policy manual now. There were 2 left. One is communicable disease policy, which our board chair is working on. And then we have the mandatory licensure review and appearance policy, which our compliance department rewrote. And that is for your review to approve or make suggestions to adjust it if you don't like it. And so we'll be down to 1 policy, and when we're done with that policy, then we'll have a full policy manual. It's updated, so we can update it every year and get going like we should be doing. So, but this is the one of 2 that are left, so we'll have 1 after this. And I'd like the board, if you like it, to approve it, and we can get the policy going.
Any discussion on it before we take a vote? Hearing none. Carol, any discussion on it? Can I get a motion to move the new policy?
A motion to approve the new policy.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, the policy passes. And now we're down to one.
Yes.
Moving right along.
All right. Me again.
Okay. We're going on to the survey on the board
Yes.
communication.
Yes, so the survey, there should be a copy of the survey in the board packet here. We had a fairly good response. I think this is a few days old. There's more now, but it's pretty consistent with the data that we have here. At the time, we had about 550 responses, which is good for a survey. That sounds weird. We have 8,000 licensees, but getting 500 responses to anything is rare. So we got a good response on this. We tried to keep it simple, and the board, cut a few of the questions out, and I think that was a good thing. I'm just going to go through the questions here and kind of tell you how things are going.
And Bob, I'd like to say
I received a survey.
thanks for the different ways that you included all this information. It was very helpful and it was really cool.
Yeah, excellent.
How do you even get to fill them out?
What's that?
You didn't receive it?
I don't know. Did
It's
it?
in the board packet.
No,
I know, but
She meant
all the
personally.
LMTs got it in their email or?
Yeah, we did a blast to the LMTs.
It's on the web page.
Well, we're gonna have a +1 here real soon.
Yes. So the first question we asked was, how would you prefer to receive updates and communication from the Oregon Board of Massage Therapists? Overwhelmingly, 81%, over 81% like the email idea. No real surprise there. We threw a whole bunch of different ways out to them, and some people like text messages, postal mail, but overwhelmingly, it looks like the majority of our LMTs that responded like the email process. Question 2 was, which of the following communication methods do you currently use to stay informed about board updates? So the idea behind this survey was, we have theories about how they like to be communicated with, but we wanted to give them the opportunity to have a voice and say, this is how we want to be communicated with. And it looks like 99 or 95% also said email. That's how they like to be informed, or that's how they stay up to date on what's going on. They also said the board website. That was kind of 21%. So it looks like some people, the reason the numbers don't all match, looks like some people picked a couple different ones. But the top 2 are email or the board website. So, this allows us to focus when we're communicating with our licensees, focus on, email blast and make sure we keep our board website up to date. So this gives good information for us. The third question is, how frequently would you like to receive updates from the board? And it looks like quarterly is the winner, or excuse me, it looks like monthly is the winner there. 54%. Monthly and quarterly, are kind of close to each other. So quarterly updates, I think, is the winner there. And
Monthly is.
oh, excuse me, monthly. Yeah. Why do I keep saying quarterly? Maybe that's what I want to do. I don't know. That's an interesting question. What time of day do you prefer to receive communications from the board? There was no preference, overwhelmingly no preference. And I think that's because they mostly chose email or board website, so people can check them whenever they want to. So, had it been different, a different way of communicating with them, they might have chose a different time, but it looks like mostly it's no preference. Number 5 was, what is your primary role in relation to the Oregon Board of Massage Therapists? This is where we wanted to see who responded, because we reached out not only to licensed massage therapists, we reached out to stakeholders, anybody that might be interested in the massage profession, including national organizations and things like that. It looks like our overwhelming responses were from licensed massage therapists, a little bit of facility permit holders, things like that. So, 6th question was, if you're a licensed massage therapist, how long have you been a licensed massage therapist in Oregon? I know that we did this one because there was some interest from board members about, how many years, what's the average number of years of our massage therapist, kind of get an idea of, and I think that helps with our communication, the way that we communicate. And it looks like the majority of the people that responded had more than 10 years as a licensed massage therapist, which actually surprised me a little bit. And then from there, it breaks down, what county or what city the individuals are from. And this is kind of leads us to the next demographic data information that we had that I'm going to present to you. They really coincide with each other. The next one I'm going to show you, which is the demographic data, was pulled from our licensing database. And so it includes all of our licensed massage therapists that are currently licensed. And the responses we have here are consistent with those. This is a smaller snapshot of what we actually have, so they confirm each other. That's pretty much the survey there. I think it gives us a clear picture of how we need to communicate with our licensees. Any questions about that at all?
I was really excited to read it and see it got a couple of things done, communication as well as the demographics. Great job.
I think it's interesting that there's a slight that is slightly weighted toward people wanting monthly communication. Are we prepared to do that, and how will we go about that?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think if we're going to do monthly communications, we'll probably do an email blast. And what I plan on doing is so we've been doing these Q&A sessions, which have been really successful. We haven't had a huge response, but we've had a huge people telling us that it was a great thing. We haven't had a lot of people there, and I think it's the reason they haven't attended is because their massage therapists are working, right? And we're a government agency. We're not working on the weekends. We're working on the weekdays, and oftentimes we're working when they're working as well, so they can't attend it. So, we're definitely ready and able and willing to do monthly email blasts, kind of updating our LMTs and our stakeholders about what's going on. And I think what we should do also is put a link to those blasts on our website so people can go on there, pull it up and catch up. Just keep a running list of those. So every one we do every month, maybe keep a year worth of those. So they can go back and say, I missed these, I want to look at what happened in January and what happened in February and what happened in March. And they can track what's going on. So we are prepared to do that. It's pretty easy to do that. And I think we can do that immediately.
Yeah, I think maybe the unexplored idea here was that people aren't reading Borderline, and it could very well be that it's just a little longer than what is needed to hold people's attention, and that if we can shorten the information and present it more often, people may get more used to seeing valuable information from the board, and they are more likely to read the whole darn thing and not be just utterly shocked when something we've been talking about all along it comes to pass, and like, whoa, nobody told me. So maybe we can avoid some of that. I think keeping these email blasts on the website for only a year might be a mistake. That people, I can't imagine that we don't have the capacity to store an endless amount of these things by date, and people can have an opportunity to go back and read these things. These are essentially would be the summaries of board action, of the things that we do in these meetings. And for people that maybe don't have the time or the inclination to read a transcript or to watch the whole darn meeting on YouTube once it's posted there, or attend a meeting, virtually or in person, which we know we don't get a gigantic turnout for that. I think it would be really nice for people to be able to say, like, well, wait a minute, when did that happen? And they can kind of filter back through, like, oh, it was a year and a half ago. That's when I got this information, but it got past me. And then people maybe are more inclined to read it even more. So anyway, those are my entire thoughts on this subject.
Yeah, I like that idea too. And you're right. It certainly wouldn't take a lot of space to keep those email blasts for as long as we need to, forever if we want to, so.
And we can even have, keep them up for 2026, and then when you roll around, have an archive.
Absolutely.
Move them over to the archive, and then everyone can find them there. Because there are times when you want to look at stuff that people can just go there. This is great. I do have a question for you, Director Ruar.
Yes.
Can we post this on our website? Do you think people would be interested in this so that they understand, okay, the demographics are, look how many are in, the upper part of Oregon as opposed to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Any drawbacks?
I don't think there's any drawbacks, no.
Yeah, a summary also, of the results of this survey instrument could be the first email blast. This is what you said. And there we go.
I like it.
I think we'll get a lot of comments on that. Positive comments from people once we do that. So, anything else for the licensing and anything else, Director Ruar?
Nope, that's the survey. I'll go over the demographic information if you'd like. I have another.
Yeah, sure. Yes, please.
So this other information I have, it looks like this. This was pulled from our licensing database. And what we did was, on the first page, it shows what county these licensees are from. And then on the second and subsequent pages, it breaks it down by city. No surprise, the top 5 counties are Multnomah, Washington, Lane, Clackamas, and Marion County. The top 5 counties for population. Number 1 overwhelmingly was Multnomah County, which doesn't surprise me at all. And then of course it breaks it down by city here on the subsequent pages. And there's some cities I've never heard of in my life. So, so it was interesting to me. It wasn't a surprise to me, but it was certainly interesting. And I think what it does for the board is it allows us to, if we have focused communications that we want to reach as many licensees as we can, then we can focus our communication not only on our website, but we can focus on a certain area to try to reach as many LMPs as we can. So that, 5 top 5 counties, we can, focus on trying to get as much information as we can out in those areas. So I think it's good information, and we can also post this if you'd like. So.
Yeah, this is great information. This is my personal question. On this communication for the questions, how often do you think we should do a survey like this? Every?
I don't know. I mean,
4 years, every 2 years? Get an update?
It's a quick survey. It's archived now, so we can do little tweaks to it and send it off whenever we want to. It doesn't matter to me. I think, as technology increases, I think there'll be some change from people how they want to be communicated with. Yeah. And technology advances pretty fast. So, I mean, it could be a yearly, it could be every couple of years. I mean, I think it shouldn't be any more than, or any less. Should be at least a couple of years. I mean, that should.
Like every 2 years.
Yeah.
The demographics certainly aren't going to change.
Yeah, the demographics aren't going to change, but the communication methods might.
I know during COVID, we had a lot of people.
When people renew their license, when they're doing that anyway, wouldn't that be something that they fill out?
It could be. We don't want to make it mandatory. They right now, we have a hard enough time just getting them to do what they need to do. Adding something else, I think, might be very difficult. So.
Good question, Larry.
Yeah, very good.
Every 2 years.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, we could kick it up every 2 years.
Anything else, Director Ruar?
I don't have anything else.
All right. Any new board member, any new business? Anyone wants to talk about, bring up? Carol, anything from you? No, for Carol? Okay, so we're moving on to public comment.
Do you want to do correspondence first? We do have some correspondence in the board packet here.
Oh, that is the public comment, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I usually start with correspondence.
Okay, moving on to the correspondence first. Okay.
So usually on these correspondence, unless the board gives me some direction on how to respond, I usually thank them that the board has reviewed their information and it's, you know, it's a little form letter. Sometimes I'll add some information to it, you know, explaining some things. Sometimes the board will say, I want you to say this, you know, on behalf of us. So there's steady correspondence here and I await your direction if you'd like to direct me.
So several of these corresponders, I've been working with very closely and encouraging them to help us be on rules committees and stuff
Nice.
in order to bring some of their suggestions to the work groups. There's some really good suggestions and ideas in here. A lot of stuff that the board has already been considering, like renewal of the facility permits, which I believe that's already going to committee at some point.
Yep. Yep, it's going to rules committee.
I think we shared this with the rules committee.
Yeah.
This correspondence, because there's some good ideas in there.
And on that note, thank you to those people that sent correspondence in for the board's consideration. As you just heard, Jeff is talking about, we're talking to them. So.
Some really great ideas I think they've had there. And the individual that is working on the scope of practice issues between LMTs and estheticians is really working hard now with the estheticians board to get them to make some definitions for public safety.
Nice.
The one thing I think we've adequately achieved, unless it comes up again, Director Ruark, is that the examples of the lymphatic drainage that were concerning that started this whole thing fall within the estheticians board for jurisdiction. And it's not massage. So one thing we've determined for certain, but we do want to assist the esthetician board as well if they're going to redefine their approach to it to make sure it aligns with massage board as well.
Oh, nice. Nice. Any other comments on the 3 letters that we received? Okay, moving on to public comments. I got a statement I have to read here. Public comments is limited to matters on the public meeting agenda or otherwise relevant to matters that may come before this agency. Comments will not be allowed that are longer than the time allotted by the chair or are disruptive to the agency's conduct of its business. Any member of the public who would like to address the board, please turn on your camera. When called upon by the chair, please turn on your microphone, state your name and license number or association for the record. Please keep your comments to 2 minutes or less. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the board at this time? Anyone coming on, Akayate?
Nope, I don't see anybody.
Give them a couple. Okay, there's always a first. Should we give them a couple more seconds or?
Nope, I don't see any hands raised. I don't see anybody turn on their cameras.
Okay, thanks to everyone for your participation or non-participation. Seeing no other members of the public wishing to speak, I will read us into executive session at 9:58. Okay. There we go. The Oregon Board of Massage Therapists will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660 to discuss certain matters on the agenda pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2F to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection for ORS 192.501 sub 4. To review, discuss, and consider written legal advice provided by the Department of Justice pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2F, or to consult with counsel concerning legal rights and duties regarding current litigation or litigation likely to be filed to ORS 192.660 sub 2H. To consider and discuss in executive session information obtained as part of an investigation of a license, applicant, or other person alleged to be practicing in violation of law pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2 KL and ORS 676.175. No decision may be made in the executive session. At the end of the executive session, the board will return to an open session and welcome audience back into this room. ORS 687.081 sub 5, prior to imposing a sanction under ORS 687.081 or any rule of the board. The board shall consider, but is not limited to considering the following factors: the person's past history in observing the provisions of ORS 687.011 to 687.250, 687.895, and 687.991, and the rules of the board. The effect of the violation on public safety and public welfare, the degree to which the action subject to sanction violates professional ethics and practices and standards of practice, the economic and financial condition of the person subject to sanction, and as mitigating factors that the board may choose to consider. I'm estimating, and I'm going to ask for input, that we will return to the public session at, how long do you think, 2 hours for this?
Probably
Two and a half? 12, yeah. Is everybody comfortable with 12:30? Everybody comfortable with 12:30? Okay. So we're estimating that we will return to this public session at 12:30 p.m. Representative of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. If attending virtually, we will return back to the session at approximately 12:30. And any media present, Akayate, that you can see?
No.
Okie dokie. Okay, we can, public excused, we can stop the, sorry?
I'll turn off the recording. You want to